Wait, educate me a bit. I've never actually shared my screen on.
Right at the bottom, there are a couple of buttons. There's a button that looks like a hand. To the right of that, there's a present now button.
Okay, I just click that. Present now. Well, my entire a window.
I would suggest do a Chrome tab. That's a little more efficient from the point of view of a lag and things like that.
Is it? Okay. Wait a minute. Let me do that then. Present now. Tab. Uh, share. Yeah, you should now be able to see it, right?
Yes,
Okay. And my audio is also clear?
perfectly.
All right. Okay, so far so good. I think nothing really interesting has happened in the game so far
Mhm,
because
mhm,
all over the place we seem to have played Josekis. Now there are a few different options for white. The one option is just pretty much to take a base here, which is
mhm,
sort of standard, either this one or this one.
mhm.
The other one is white could continue on with this Joseki, which is kind of standard.
Uh-huh.
But in this Joseki variation, black would potentially get Sente
And
like
then
that,
black would prevent the reduction. Yeah.
and then black can attack.
That
So
that's what I was actually expecting to happen. Either that or I would get to kick you by playing R4. Sorry, R14. If you played the extension at K16.
yeah, then this kicks and this attack, something like
Yeah.
that. Also
Yeah.
quite good. And in either of these options, I felt like white would have two groups that they are not
Mhm.
exactly weak groups. They're quite strong, but I would still have two groups that I would have to manage carefully. And if you land up doing a great job, I might die. One of them might die. So I wanted a game where I sort of take control over the game. So
Mhm.
what if I play a move like this or a move like say anything else, then basically black can do whatever it wants. Black
Right.
determines the next course of action. So I wanted to determine the next course of action rather than let black do it, which is why I
Mhm.
attached here. It's not a standard move. I'm not
Mhm.
even sure if it's a good move, but the point of the attach is that if black doesn't respond, say black kicks now,
Hmm. Then you can
then
keep black low, and it's easier for the white stones to escape.
yeah, exactly. It's like you can't come back and attack now, right?
Hmm.
Because imagine me doing something like say maybe a clamp or a hane one way or the other, something like this one. I'm playing
Hmm.
very lightly here, right? You can play something like this, but then imagine the attack on that stone because essentially
Hmm.
I've got a wall. I've
Hmm.
quickly flipped direction.
Correct.
So it makes it a bit inefficient for black to not respond. So black sort of has to respond. Now, black has essentially four choices in these kinds of situations. The choices are A, B, those are the two Hanes, and the
Hmm.
two Nabis.
Correct.
Now the where did the stones go? Now the Nubis are usually considered a bit passive because they don't apply any pressure on white.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
in essence, uh, White's got this AB exchange for free.
Right.
Because White has played a stone on the outside, it can always make some good use of that stone. Maybe it will be a ladder breaker in the future. Maybe it will. Maybe White can continue right away and make some points on that side.
Hmm.
Uh, but for Black, the stone B at best protects the corner that already was supposed to be Black's corner because Black
Right.
had already invested two stones in there. So, in essence, the Nobi feels a little bit slow.
Okay.
And that's exactly the sort of thinking you got to have here is this Nobi is unacceptable. I mean, it is just straight downright
Yeah.
wrong. Because when White
I'm
harness
keeping
this,
myself low. Yeah.
yeah, what has exactly, you know, Black got? I mean, there is even a lot of corner RG. Like, imagine if
Hmm.
Black plays elsewhere, uh, after White plays a move like this, first of all, Black's surrounded, and White's
Hmm.
got amazing shape. And then Black has to worry about the corner in case White starts going and cramping it up.
Right.
So that Nobi is unacceptable. This Nobi is a good move, a strong move, but a slow move. So
Hmm.
essentially, that leaves Black with either this option or this option. Now, this option would mean something like this. You can imagine a sequence potentially like
Yeah.
that. And essentially, white has gotten a slightly more efficient version of
Hmm.
uh, this, where
Right.
white can easily get undercut later and doesn't really have
Hmm.
points. Now, white instead has uh, some points, right?
Right.
And this still exists. So it's not like black has a huge
Of
corner.
course. Hmm.
So maybe that's not ideal. And so black can consider this kind of a move. So all these are options, and each one of them leads to a variation. I'm just trying to explore
Hmm.
some of the thinking that you got to do before you go forward. All of those are fine. None of them is a bad variation. Just saying that you got to think about what you get and what
The
your opponent
consequences.
consequences. Cool. You played this, which is a fine move. The Hane is natural. Hane, counter Hane, natural. So far, so good. So I think I'm not sure if this is a good move or not, but there's pretty much no option for black except to play this.
Right.
Uh, and I think this kind of a variation is probably natural. But
I
if you
felt
play
that this
this
was
one,
weaker because of the weakness at around R17 with the Hane at O18. That's why I didn't play this sequence. I played a more defensive version where I get to live immediately.
in any case, this variation is bad, slightly bad for black because black is heavy, very over concentrated.
Hmm.
Uh, so black wouldn't choose this variation, is what I'm saying, for any
Okay.
number of reasons. Black could pretty much, if I do this, even consider this non-traditional variation
Hmm.
because white doesn't really have very much. I mean, sure, white can get that Atari, but it doesn't really matter that very much because black's already connected.
Hmm.
Or black could falsify the eye or do something like that. Not a big deal. And white doesn't
Okay.
have great shape. So this
Hmm.
all of these variations are possible. But this is not a very standard way to play. And I didn't find the right hand side to be particularly big anymore because you've already
Hmm.
played four moves there. So I would be okay with you taking one more stone like that,
Okay.
right? But and if I get this Hane, I'm quite happy. So
Right.
I really like the fact that you played this Hane, which was the key vital point in the shape, right? And I played the Hane, and it's worth considering whether this Atari is big or not. Imagine, let's say we do this, then
Hmm.
white shape isn't all that good.
Oh, white needs to defend.
White needs to defend, and there isn't even a great defense,
Hmm.
right? Black can even double Hane, and white has to respond.
Right.
And now that that has happened, maybe black can come and attack this whole group.
Hmm.
So in any case, I think black should find ways to attack these two stones.
Yeah, I wanted to. I was just not getting the right time for it, and by then you defend it.
Yeah.
Because
So this
I
Nobi,
think
for
in this
example,
move itself you start defending, right?
this Nobi is very passive because
Hmm.
with this Nobi, right, I can come and calmly connect. I
I,
can
I
I can
can't really double honey, can I? Not in this situation. Double honey doesn't really work. Should I just
why
ignore? But then
what
big
what would white do?
white could actually just cross cut. There's weakness out there.
Which one? Can you tell me the
I would
intersection?
have I would have done O15.
Okay, then
Oh, that still leaves white weak. Okay. The white would eventually have to go and defend. So white would play something like L15 and then black can actually continue the attack.
no, even L15 is still not a great move because even then this Atari is the key vital point.
Hmm.
Because even after this, white can't do very much because black's already alive in the corner.
Correct, correct.
And what happens now, right? White split into two groups. So it's just an absolute disaster. White has to crawl along the
Hmm.
whichever line, and this is going to soon end in some form of a death
Right.
somewhere, right? There.
Okay, okay. So then what you're
So
saying is white will have to defend at N18 and then that leaves weaknesses near the top.
yeah, so at this point, if this happens, then you give this Atari, which is humongous. It's huge.
Huge, yes.
It's huge.
Mhm.
White has to sort of connect, and
Mhm.
then there are still forcing moves around this area. So
Right.
white may even decide to sacrifice.
Hmm.
And if it does, then there are lots of annoying moves like this one. What do you do exactly in a situation like this, right?
Hmm.
It's terribly annoying. Like, okay, sure, take my stone, whatever. Now what? So, suddenly black now has an outside that looks very beautiful.
Right.
And essentially, you gave white territory that was already white's. White
Hmm.
simply had to do so much work to defend what was already its own territory. So, essentially, what I'm trying to say is that move at n18 is a vital point.
Okay.
The moment black takes that point, right, black's corner becomes solid and white's wall suddenly collapses.
Right.
The
Right.
moment white takes that point, white's wall becomes strong, and that area on the top side becomes a strong influence for white. And
Hmm.
black's
And
corner is there is some aji there.
right.
Okay.
And the
So
fact that black played slack out here means that white can fix his shape.
exactly. Which means white gets to, fix the shape, and now black can of course dictate the fate of this game, which black should.
Which black
Uh,
shirt didn't. Yes, I know.
in general, pushing like this is a very bad idea because you're pushing from
Hmm.
behind,
Behind.
right? And essentially, you've allowed white to make 25 points of territory just like that, 20 points of
Hmm.
territory, let's say, just like that, for nothing.
Hmm.
It was supposed to be a weak white group with two separate groups out there. They just joined together and they made 25 points just like that.
Right.
So,
Right.
of course, black gets a great wall and black can easily attack this group. That's a benefit. That's a benefit you got to weigh against the value of those 25 points white's getting for
Hmm.
free. Okay. So that's a possibility. You could consider doing it. Or instead of making those bad exchanges, you can skip all of those bad exchanges and directly attack.
Right.
This is how you take control of the game.
Hmm.
Uh, this move, again, applies no pressure, right? So white
Correct.
is no free. White doesn't really have to respond. This is a textbook move, but you don't have to. A double approach is not that harmful. So,
Hmm.
white can whatever, take a base and you double approach. It's not the end of the world. The game continues.
Right.
So, okay, let's say something like this happens. Okay, you got a two space extension out here, and white's got a
But
two space extension out here. Big deal. Okay, we're
hmm.
even spot, right? Whereas it shouldn't have been even. It should have been
Correct.
favorable to you.
Okay, that makes sense.
So this is the point where you take advantage. Say you got a weak group that you cannot afford to lose. As in, when
Hmm.
I say you, I mean white. White's
Right.
got a weak group that it cannot afford to lose. So white will have to run something like that, or say something light like that. So
Hmm.
when eventually you land up capturing, you get the entire corner that is humongous, right? If white runs this way and actually lands up saving the group,
Then black makes territory on the outside.
then then fine. Then black can get these things now, potentially, and maybe net like this.
Hmm.
So now possibly the entire thing will die. Or when
Okay.
something like this happens, white turns here, right? And say something like this happens, and you can naturally get this move and make territory on the right hand side, and white's still not
Hmm.
alive. And if white escapes somewhere, say white responds or does something, then this Hane is quite big.
Correct. Correct.
So in this position, the key vital point in shape is R12. You got to
Hmm.
consider attacking that. You didn't, so I took initiative. I have to.
Right.
Uh, and that is an extremely passive move. I mean, that's unplayable. You cannot play it.
That's true. Yeah.
You can consider maybe this move. It feels like it doesn't work, but it ought to work. Like, let's
It
say,
works. It works because of the weakness at S16. Correct.
right. So, whatever, right? This happens, cool. So, cool.
Hmm.
Essentially, black let white take a tiny corner, but now black has a ridiculous amount of influence.
Correct.
So, this is quite good for black. So,
Hmm.
white cannot
That
afford
was
that, right? This is another variation that white can try, but what is white going to do at best? Okay, white takes that, sure, Atari, take, and then boom. Black again gets an
hmm.
extraordinary amount of influence. So,
Yes. Right.
so essentially, these kinds of double harness situations, what you're communicating with your opponent is, look, I am willing to give away something. It's not that I want everything. I know you can double Atari me and all that stuff. I know, but I don't
Hmm.
care. Go ahead, double Atari me. Yeah, I have better things to worry about.
Hmm.
But so that's the way to think here. This move, it's like what do I say? It's like you play this move, and white says, "Okay, I'm going to keep the outside," and you get the corner. This is better now, right? You get
Hmm.
more. You get the entire corner.
Correct.
It's as if you can play here now if you want to defend. That's an alternative way of playing it. But with this variation, what if white plays the Atari first and then plays here? Now, when you play this Atari, white can play this in Cente. Previously,
Hmm.
that was not the case.
Correct.
And later on, also, there is the ko here. So you don't necessarily have an eye,
Hmm.
right? So these kinds of small things matter. So this move is quite big.
That's
Even when I
true.
play here, it may be worth taking it because it is such a big move.
Hmm.
Or if not that, then at least still play a move like this and
Continue
force
attacking
white
at
to come
least.
and live here. One
Right.
of and then you can consider double approaching. I
Hmm.
don't know what the right thing to do here is, but certainly I know that this is not the one. This
This
is
is
a
too passive. Right. Okay.
yeah. So double approach is reasonable. This move is considered a bit outdated these days.
Okay.
It's possible, of course, but the more common variation is this attach. White will
Okay.
often play this way, and black can defend this side like that, and then the game continues. Basically, it's very
Hmm.
hard to attack these kinds of groups.
Yeah,
It's
it's
usually
definitely better for black, right?
yeah. So
And what happens if white pushes at p3?
sorry, in this one,
Yeah. No. White pushes at p3 instead of r3.
white wedges. You mean?
Yeah.
Okay. So this one is another standard Joseki variation like that, and then this is what you can expect out of this one. So this is this is Joseki. It's entirely possible.
Okay. Okay.
The only problem with this Joseki is white's giving black points for
Hmm.
sure,
But white
uh,
needs to be able to attack r6, I'm guessing.
right? Like these are black's points, right? Essentially.
Hmm.
However, there is still Aji around this spot.
Right.
Black can cut whenever it wants, and
Hmm.
that pawn at number 6 is dead.
Correct.
So if white say plays elsewhere, and there is a lot of pressure on this black group, black doesn't have to try running and stuff like that. Black
Hmm.
can just cut, and white cannot kill this stone. Like white can't do that. That doesn't work.
Hmm.
White can't do this. This doesn't work. So essentially,
Correct.
white has to give away the corner. So essentially, the corner is black's corner whenever black chooses to
Hmm.
have it.
Hmm.
Which
Okay,
means
that's why white wouldn't. Okay. Wedge.
so what I'm trying to say is, if indeed it ever feels to black that okay, the right hand side is becoming pretty big and I need to erase it a little bit,
Hmm.
then of course black can just continue doing stuff like that and erase it, or it can just cut.
Okay.
So to me personally, like if this shape is not great shape, like if I have to
Hmm.
do this, then I still have a cutting point around
Yeah, there are
Q.
lots of forcing moves. Hmm.
So if I play here and then black plays this, I have to respond, and then black can run away if it has some.
Correct.
Then what does white really have? It has some big, nice looking like hammer shape, but it doesn't have any power,
Hmm.
right? Whereas black's getting a lot of points.
Right.
So that's why personally I don't like the wedge, and
Hmm.
just it's just me personal style. Like wedging like this also feels always like I'm losing a liberty. At two, I've lost a liberty, right?
Hmm.
I don't like to lose those liberties because in many of the games I find that you land up into a capturing race of some sort,
Hmm.
and the capturing race will be a win or lose based on just one liberty,
Right.
and liberties really matter a lot. So this style of taking away your own liberty, it's just something I don't personally like. So for
Okay.
me, it's much better to leave that liberty around, and this is far more flexible because right
Wouldn't
now
wouldn't r4 be better at r5 shape wise?
this one
It prevents
it,
the p4 push as well.
prevents it, but it does. You're essentially attaching to a weak stone. So
Hmm.
you're
So giving
by
a chance to
attaching
get
to a weak
stronger,
stone, you're
right?
making it stronger, and the
Incente.
cut still exists now, right?
Yeah.
So you can't play elsewhere. If you play elsewhere, black can play this Hane. It's unbearable.
Hmm.
How do you respond to this Hane? You do that. Okay. Then what about this push?
Correct.
Okay. What about that Atari? I mean, it's just the
Hmm.
list goes on and on. So it's going to get very hard very soon. So if this happens, then white has to live in the corner, right? Something like that. And black's already pretty alive actually. And when black
Yeah.
pushes this way, white is in deep trouble here, right? What does
Hmm.
white? White has to like do this one. Even this, I'm not sure whether it works.
Oh, oh wow. Okay. I mean, it might work in this situation, but I didn't see that.
Um Maybe it's a bit overplay, but it's just I'm just saying that there is something
Mm-hmm.
to worry out here.
Yeah.
Like so that means that when this happens, if black plays say this move, essentially black has defended, white does this. What white doesn't have any shape.
Correct.
So so black just needs to defend its own cutting point, and then white, you know, has to worry about its shape, whereas black can
Hmm.
easily live.
Correct.
So it's complex, of course. But I just feel that when you kick here, you got to be ready to deal with this Nobi because the Nobi
Okay.
suddenly makes black very strong and
Right.
doesn't really fix this cutting point.
Correct. Correct.
So
Okay.
my way of thinking about Go is you don't need to save all the groups. You just need to win the game. Therefore,
Okay.
I don't need I don't need group A and B to actually be connected. I'm
Hmm.
okay with losing one of them
Correct.
as long as I get a better result. So right
Hmm.
now, if for example black pushes, I'm not going to do this.
Okay.
I'm just going to go. Okay, you want to push, 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 cool. Give me the
Hmm.
right hand side territory. I'm happy.
Right.
I'm getting way more than what black is getting because
Correct.
those two stones on the outside are still not dead.
Hmm.
So that's the thinking. And even so, if black does manage to push and cut, white can always live in the corner by playing this move,
Yeah.
right? If this happens, then just this move or any such moves, you'll be alive.
Hmm.
So there's no worry of life and death. So that's why this shape is considered acceptable,
Okay.
right? And then black will play some move around here to threaten white a little bit. Remember, I showed you a previous variation where white did
Right.
this.
Hmm. That doesn't work anymore. Okay.
That doesn't work once black plays this kind of a move.
Hmm.
Because if white now plays and black pushes, and can't go anywhere. I
Hmm.
can't really cut now. So
Right.
white shape is not nice. So that's why then an interesting fight can ensue from here.
Hmm.
And that's a very complex Joseki. I won't get into that. It's not a Joseki class, and I'm personally very bad at Joseki. So suffice to say that this is a fine variation for both parties
Okay.
so far.
Hmm.
And what happened in the game? What happened in the game is this one, which is also not the end of the world. At our level, I think the game is still it's not exactly even at this point due to the
Hmm.
move at Q18, which was
Right.
quite bad. Aside from that, the game is quite even.
Hmm.
Okay, so this is a good move. I'm okay. I'm taking the corner. You're taking the side.
I think this
This,
was a little slow. Yeah. I could have actually played R12 or Q12 or something out here instead.
yeah, it's worth wondering whether this move is helping you or not in any way. So let me ask you, why did you play that move?
I felt I wanted to get S6 and Cente in some way. It didn't get S6 and Cente. I was thinking you would play R4 and then I would play S6 and Cente. But that didn't really work out that way.
I think if you really want to play S6, you should directly play it because later you could potentially clamp. So when you go out, you can destroy the corner,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? What does mm, white do? Right? White can't do that because black can play the co.
Right.
So that's what
And
I'm
even
saying.
if
But
black doesn't play the coach, a reduction in Cente because white will have to fix its shape resto.
yeah, exactly. Even then, white would have to play something like this, right? Or
Hmm.
this maybe in this
Right.
case. But even then, there is this move that falsifies the eye. So
Hmm.
it's quite a good result for black
Black.
if this
Okay.
happens. But
Yeah,
the moment
and getting white to play S4 spoils all of that.
exactly. So by doing this, your white will say thank you. Why
That's
not?
true.
Because you could have at best used this as a co-threat. Right? I mean, worst case, you could have used this as a co-threat.
Right, right.
Now you can't. Okay, so that's why. And then the descent is quite slow. Now,
Hmm.
after this exchange, you should treat the stones at A
Lightly.
as a very light set of stones. They don't matter much. So,
Hmm.
what you should now do is take this two space extension and force white to live in the corner.
Right.
That way, you are the one taking initiative. But later in the game, you noticed that uh,
White got the extension.
white took the base here,
Correct.
putting black into a very difficult situation because black's not locally alive.
Hmm.
Okay, so this is good. And I think white should normally play like this. This is probably the common sequence.
Okay.
But that's fine. I thought let me take a little bit of influence this time because by taking influence, I can
You
attack
can
the
attack
stone,
the right.
the stones here a little bit more
Hmm.
at A. Okay, so that was a good response from black. That seems correct. Sort of necessary almost, right? Otherwise, black will get surrounded there.
Yeah, yeah.
So this makes sense so far. All this makes. Uh, this is a bit off topic. Why this move?
I was trying to see right now. I know that F3 and H4 are not connected. I was wondering whether I can steal the base and then cut, which is what I tried to do actually, to apply a
Uh,
little bit of pressure on the corner.
hmm. So I think you got to think about it this way. If there
How
are,
big is the cut? Yeah.
well, let's even say it is big, and I defend this way.
Mm-hmm.
What have you achieved with this exchange? Like, is this the most important exchange of the game?
Hmm.
Like, are there other things on the board that are possibly more important? Like things that are more urgent. That if I don't play, that suddenly the direction of the game will flip from
Right.
a game that is conducive to my victory versus a game that is conducive to my opponent's victory. So to me, that move is here
Correct.
simply because that's the only weak group on the board for black. All other
Hmm.
groups are decently all right.
Yeah. Alternatively, I can try to actually split the top or something like that. That would also be bigger than B4.
Exactly. So this is now the second angle to it. Does white have any weak groups? Okay. Maybe a move like this. I don't know that, or whatever. Some move around here. Any move around here is good enough.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's essentially splitting white, and white doesn't have a clean way to connect.
Correct.
So okay, done. Split complete, successful. So now when white runs this way, black can easily solidify the left hand side and make
Hmm.
points.
Hmm.
That's far more points. That's far
Then a
more
cut would get right.
than say whatever happens. That's far more points than the 2 points that you might make here, right? It's not. It feels like it's undercutting white and taking white's base away, but white doesn't care.
Hmm.
If you know,
If it was truly a threat, White would just connect and not worry about it again.
uh, yeah. So here, for example, if white really wants to be super passive, then white would respond. This is the textbook response, right?
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
But it is so slow. White just saved 6 points on the bottom, and black got sente again.
Hmm.
So now black can come back and attack. So in fact, white should take this opportunity to say maybe defend this side. Say a move like
Right.
that would be okay, right? And now what are you going? Are you threatening me with that? Is that really a threat?
Not really. No.
And even if you cut, suppose you do indeed cut, right? Something like this one, or the way you did in the game, this one, and you cut. Okay, I give away the stones. Sorry,
Hmm.
I give it away,
They're
right?
still very strong on the outside. Yeah.
Right, whatever, something like this. Cool. And say I play this move. I'm asking you, can I kill that stone? You're saying no. Okay, cool.
I'll defeat
And
your throw.
okay,
D6.
it's not like you got the corner, right? You just took
Hmm.
some
Hmm.
stone, one stone. Not a big deal. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So think like that. Okay. And cool. So basically, the point is that area is not important.
Right.
Cool. So that means I take the big spot
Hmm.
and you cut. Even so, I descended. And in these kinds of fights, liberties matter a lot. So the push and cut hurts a lot.
Hmm.
So it's worth asking questions like this one. Instead of you did the Nobi in the game,
Hmm.
but that allows me to push and cut or something like that, right?
No, that
If
doesn't directly work, but I gave it away later, right? I think that was a big mistake. I didn't realize exactly why I did that.
so, let's see. Like in any case, there's some good RG for white here. So later on, this means that an Atari like this can potentially be Sente or
That's what I was worried about. I think at a later stage, I gave that away instead.
yeah. So, but in any case, this push is a little annoying because of this
Yes,
reason.
right,
So, black loses a lot of eye shape in this process,
correct.
right? And um, I think black is probably alive here in this shape, but it's easy points, and then white can always come back to
Hmm.
even if white doesn't play there. White can say white can even attach here.
Oh, yeah.
If
So
this
it's not
happens,
even surrounded or
suddenly
something like that.
exactly. So it's not the end of the world. It's not
Hmm.
what white would have ideally wanted. I mean, white would ideally want the entire corner, but white should be flexible here and not expect points in the corner, but expect points an equal number of points somewhere else.
Hmm.
So it doesn't. It's not like your group is that much stronger than white in the corner that you expect a profit. That's what I'm trying to
Right.
say.
Hmm.
You essentially created a weak group out of
Right.
nowhere. So I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't cut here. The Hane is very huge. I would
Correct.
happily take the Hane. If I
Hmm.
really don't want to take the Hane, I would clamp. Now,
How
with the
does the
clamp,
clamp work?
the way the clamp works is suppose white connects, then this is much better.
Right. But what happens if white descends?
You mean this push and cut?
No, no, no. White is F2.
If white descends, then fine. I'm happy to take, you know,
Ah, right, right,
I'm
right.
happy to take the entire corner this way. This is
Okay,
flexible, right? Okay, you can push and cut, but it may not work or whatever. I don't even care. Sure, take it.
correct.
Right?
Hmm.
I'll just play a move like this and I'm alive. Right. So
Hmm.
the thing is, I got some compensation in the corner, so I'm okay with it.
Yes. Okay. Okay.
That style of thinking. So the clamp is quite a nice move in these kinds of situations. And of course, white can cut here
Hmm.
and take it. But that's fine because black can always come and it's
Yeah.
black ends in center, right? So that's what
Correct.
black needs right now.
Hmm.
So this is we'll discuss this. Yeah, and letting this go, this move is way too small. I mean,
Yes. Yes.
the
I
first thing
actually thought that you
is,
would stop me from coming outside, but yeah, I didn't read it properly.
even if I did, it's not good for you, right? Why is this a good exchange? You created an empty triangle, you lost a liberty. So if
Hmm.
now suppose you play like this,
I felt I was just getting more eye shape because this is.
mm, maybe, possibly, right?
Yeah, it would be very bad shape, but I'd have to do something O2 or M2. Yeah.
I mean, it still depends on the essentially. I have defended against the push and cut here. Okay, it doesn't
Hmm.
directly work, I think, but there is still some RG. Previously, you could
Right.
have push and cut and maybe hurt the outside of the corner, but now you can't push and cut anymore.
Correct.
So that benefit is already there, and I can easily attach now.
You can
So
still do that, right?
yeah, yeah, this wasn't good, and certainly letting me take this is quite bad.
Hmm.
And okay, I get some points. So previously, I had some influence on the outside.
I just gave you a whole lot more. Yeah.
Yeah, I took more influence. I mean, I didn't take more influence. I just
Hmm.
got a replacement amount of influence,
Yeah.
and I got territory on the bottom that was supposed to be entirely yours.
Correct.
So that's the bad part. And unfortunately, it also ends in Gote for you. At least if it
Hmm.
ended in Sente and you could play elsewhere, say, I don't know, maybe play a big move here or wherever, right? Wherever, that would be great. But then this kind of a thing works.
Hmm.
So you felt the need to play one more move, but that is not the right move to play. Um, I think if I were you, this kind of a move is a dame move. I don't find any value in it.
Hmm.
So what I might personally do at this point is try to defend this group a little bit,
Okay.
right? And if this happens, then sort of start to run out and start to defend it and aim at the cutting point at a play
Hmm.
for later. It's not important now in the game, but later it may become
Correct.
either that or I might defend this group a little bit better. For example, say like that, the simplest thing I
Hmm.
can do. And I've essentially solidified my left hand side quite a bit, right?
Hmm.
So yeah, so these are the kinds of things I certainly believe that J6 is a bit of a dame move. It's
Hmm.
not achieving that very much. I don't feel pressurized, let me put it
Right.
that,
Right.
which means I can take ownership again. So
Hmm.
there, and this is standard. So again, I'm not trying to kill you. I know I can't kill you here.
Hmm.
It's not possible because you have enough helper stones. So you should be able to run out. But all I want to do is profit, right? So I'm
Correct.
attacking for profit here. So removing the eye shape, and I'm
Yeah,
sure
I
there are
felt
better
that
ways.
would work. I mean, I don't know why that didn't work.
Which one?
So the Q12 stone, I should have been able to cut in some way or the other. I think I screwed up the sequence somewhere. Not immediately, eventually. When I try to go to R12 and everything, right? Descend there.
Right, 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 right,
There
right,
should
right,
have been a better way to do that.
right. So what about a move like this one? So before you go ahead and start defending, maybe a good thing to think about is how can you counter attack.
Mm-hmm.
So if these two stones die, maybe you don't need to escape, right? Maybe you can just
Correct.
get an eye or two eyes right here, and you're done with it.
Hmm.
So what does white do? White can push and cut, but this cut leads to a very bad shape. Already
Hmm.
the corner is isolated. The corner needs to live, which means that when this cut happens, white has to respond locally.
Hmm.
And this Hane, how does this work? Mm,
No, this looks alive to me.
is this alive? Okay, now what do you do?
I just do R1.
R1. R1
Hmm.
cannot possibly be alive.
Okay, right. Okay.
So because so
Hmm.
yeah, you have to then increase your eye shape and then something like this, and then you're just dead.
Hmm. Right, right,
So
right.
that will not work. So it would have to be something like this,
S1. Hmm.
right? And I'm not super sure. My life and death also kind of sucks. So what I'm trying to say is white shouldn't have to be in a situation where white's having to struggle. And
Right.
even if white is alive in the corner, black will get some nice end game.
Hmm.
And by doing all of these things, black's also getting some strength on the outside.
Correct.
For example, this kind of a move becomes Sente. It
Hmm.
naturally defends against that piece. It's not the best move on the planet, but it can
It works. Yeah.
it has some value for now.
Hmm.
So you should think about counter attacking. At least this push and cut doesn't hurt, and then
Correct.
maybe you can mm, I don't know, consider this kind of a move right now and squeeze
Hmm.
Atari. You've naturally defended against a cutting point, Atari, and tell me whose shape is worse now. I mean, I don't know.
Hmm.
Previously,
Hmm.
black shape was quite bad, but now even white shape feels not that great. It's just a
Right.
big clump, right? So now you don't need to go all the way up to here because it leaves the peak. So
Hmm.
you don't want to pre-commit to a move like this, which you can't fully read out because you don't know in the future whether it will help you or it will just hinder you.
Okay.
So
Okay.
much better to play a move that locally you can read out and you can say, okay, I clearly get a benefit by doing this. This is the clear benefit, 100% benefit, right?
Hmm.
Like that. So here, what would I do? Yeah, I would definitely play this move. It's the in my mind, it feels like the local shape point.
Right.
And if not, then some, I don't know, maybe attach, because I'm a weak group. With a weak group, normally by attaching you can gain some strength.
Hmm.
For example, if he does that, you can get this move. And now if he plays here, you can play this move. These kinds of things can happen. And you just connect. Fine. You
Hmm.
gave some
Hmm.
stones away, but it's fine. Not the end of the world. Or this happens, you can play here.
Right.
Maybe something like that. And there.
Hmm.
So now maybe white needs to worry a bit about the side, and and even the outside, maybe
Hmm.
like that. These kinds of things you can think about. Anyway, but I think this is okay. Yeah, so peep comes naturally. You have to connect here, I think. And then this honey, I think you gotta play this. So black's
Hmm.
alive.
Right.
You have to play that. You have to connect here. Not by connecting, you're also destroying all the territory that white has
Correct. Correct.
in this area, right? And you keep a connection. You keep a connection possibility from here.
Hmm.
But by not connecting and playing that, get another dame move. Suddenly, when white plays this move,
Now
this
to make
black shape
that
is
shape.
completely isolated, and
Right.
white is now making territory in this area,
Hmm.
right? That just feels a bit unfair, right? And what did black get? Black didn't get anything. There's no exchange of value here, right?
Hmm.
Black got two other stones, and they're not attacking exactly. So if
Correct.
when this happens, there's no way to disconnect white, and that's the
Hmm.
power of this Kosumi. This Kosumi at B. That's the
Hmm.
power. It's hard to disconnect. You can try some more fancy variations, like say you can try to do that and see what happens.
But that also doesn't full.
Also
That
doesn't
doesn't.
quite work. You can try this. You can gain some value.
Hmm.
But here, when this disconnect happens, white can play this Atari to prevent the previous variation. And if that happens,
Oh, this is
then
bad. Right.
then it won't work again. So basically, nothing works. So, even
Hmm.
this apparently good looking, it is a trick move. So if white does make the mistake of playing here, then it can work,
Hmm.
possibly. Or maybe even that doesn't work, because when this happens, white can connect here.
Right.
It is even worse, in fact, because now white can disconnect entirely.
Hmm.
So okay, so it doesn't quite work. So you shouldn't aim for that. You'll end up
Right.
this cut is fine. Now that you played up to here, this cut is fine. You should immediately play the Atari,
Hmm.
because later there might be a ko out here of some sort. So it's important to play the Atari for now and leave it at that. Don't play any
Okay.
further. I would do it that way. The connect is fine. Trying to separate, yeah. Mm,
I should just.
mm, I don't know what to play now, to be honest. A bit hard. Mm, maybe just Hane.
Does E6 work?
E6 doesn't work. I mean, define work. If you can kill the
Right.
stone, then sure. But
Hmm.
I don't care
Hmm.
because I can connect.
Correct.
And,
Correct.
and so that is not very helpful. And even further, I can like possibly play moves like that, maybe. And you can play this, but Tari and now essentially white is also isolated.
Hmm.
So it's black can always connect. So it's not really good for white to play like this, to go into the
Hmm.
opponent's territory and try to make something. It's just much better
Okay.
for white to,
Take the
maybe
outside.
defend here and force black to come and live in this
Hmm.
area, something like that.
Hmm.
Okay, this move is fine. So that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm forcing you to live, but you kind of don't have to because you can just play Hane. If I cut, then no, maybe
No,
you,
I have to.
which one?
No, I have to play locally, right? Otherwise, there's a risk.
First of all, you always have this one, right?
Hmm.
And this kind of sequence cannot possibly be good for. You
Right.
can always play locally even now, right? I mean, fundamentally nothing has changed. The same local move
Correct.
will work, but by
Hmm.
doing all of this stuff, you're going to gain a lot of strength in the center of the board.
Hmm.
So you gain all of that strength, and then you come and play the local move that you want to play. Fine, but I don't think you need to immediately worry because you have that connection. But by playing this move again, the ball is in white's court. White can do whatever. So white attach. This is standard sequence. You know this sequence, right?
I do not.
Okay, so normally when you have this
Three space.
three space high sort of extension on the side, there are two ways to sort of for the opponent to invade that area. That's invadable.
Hmm.
One of them is here. It is a standard invasion, and the
This one
other
I
one,
know. Yeah.
and this one. But what happened in the game? Essentially, the variation is the same. It's the
Okay.
same way whether we would have done this way. So suppose
Hmm.
I had done this. This is what happened in the game.
Correct.
But this is a different sequence for the same thing.
Hmm.
So essentially, I've just changed the sequence because this sequence allows us to proceed slightly differently, like maybe like this and like that, possibly,
Okay.
right? Where I can gain points in the left side and you take over some influence on
Hmm.
the outside. So both of them are possible. Let's not worry about when to play which, but just know that essentially the sequence is same as uh, when this happens.
Right.
And what white is trying to do is it's trying to say, look, black, you've got some points there, but it's not all yours. I,
Obviously.
I need to get something out of it. And
Right.
what I'm essentially going to do is I'm going to force you to be low,
Hmm.
right? I'm going to force you to be low and I'm going to take some influence on the outside.
Correct.
That's the language white is speaking.
Hmm.
And sometimes black will say no to it and fight. Like there are ways to fight it.
Hmm.
I think it's one of these pushes. Like this push is a way to fight it, but it leads to a complex fight. Once again, a deep variation.
Okay.
It will stick to the basics for now. So this game is already not favorable for black. So I'm not
Hmm.
focusing much on favorable for which player at this point.
Hmm.
We'll just focus on some ideas and thinking.
Right.
So black, this is a very bad spot for invading because you're not threatening anything.
Yeah, that's true. I honestly, you know what, the problem is at this stage also, even though now that I'm looking at it in retrospect, I can see that N17 and F17 are so far apart. I was not, even till now, I was not thinking of invading that area or reducing it by playing deep into it. What I felt was I'm playing a ladder breaker. With that, I'll be able to push out using M14 to keep you as low as I can, which
Now
is not the right direction of thinking, honestly, from my side.
the problem is now if you invade, you're the
Hmm.
one who's going to get attacked because of this extra strength. Essentially, white has a ponnuki in the center of the board, so it's extremely hard for you to do a good attack here.
But White doesn't have Monoki yet, right? White needs a move out there.
No, I'm referring to yeah, it doesn't yet have a ponnuki, but like it can by capturing. So imagine black plays here and
Hmm.
say white. What does white do? White say I don't know. Plays a defense. Something simple,
Hmm.
right? Black runs, white runs, black runs, white runs, right?
Oh,
Now previously we said that this group A was slightly weak.
Now it's not, right?
Now it's not exactly weak because it does have a Ponnuki. So even if ladders
Hmm.
work in favor of black,
Which they don't. But
which do they? Which
they
they don't.
didn't. They don't actually because of that.
They
Yeah,
don't.
that's what I read.
So ladders don't work. But even if they did, let's say white was just naive here, like that. White got some Sente and attacks this group.
Hmm.
That's still quite good for white, right?
Right.
Now the timing is gone. The timing for the
Hmm.
invasion is gone. That's why it's extremely important. The moment you spot a big weakness in a big area,
Hmm.
you shouldn't wait to attack later. You have to attack then and there. Otherwise,
Correct.
later in the game, that attack possibility may vanish.
Hmm.
In fact, it the so think about it, right? If both players are rational, both are
There'll
going to
be
play
exactly
equally
one
good
place to
moves,
focus
right?
on. Right. Yeah.
Both are going to play equally good moves. One good move, one good move, one good move, one good move. So if Komi is right, then essentially both players should draw at the end
Hmm.
if everything goes fairly. So when does something unfair happen? It happens when somebody lands up creating a weak group accidentally,
Hmm.
and the other player spots that weakness and exploits that weakness and takes control of the game.
Hmm.
And that's where you make a profit. You make a profit in this game by attacking weak groups. So if you're finding in a game that you're not attacking a weak group, or that there's a weak group, but you're saying I'll get to it later. Let me
Hmm.
just put some points in the corner because corner side center that's more important.
Hmm.
Or let me put some stones on the side because all corners are taken. Side is more important right now. If you just follow that theory, you will not incrementally gain more than your opponent. So in
Hmm.
order to incrementally gain more than your opponent, you have to attack their weak groups. So now the opportunity is a bit lost for black.
Okay. Right.
Once
So
again, this is
this was the only ladder breaker I could find.
this
Mainly
is
because
is this a ladder breaker?
yeah, this is a ladder breaker.
Okay, so let's say I play
Isn't
elsewhere.
it? Yeah.
Hmm, okay, I agree. It is a ladder breaker, but
It's
let
not really.
let me ask you: is this a good ladder breaker? Like, does this achieve what you really want to achieve?
Not really, no.
Right. So here I am. How many points is white making in the center?
Hmm.
It's huge
Like
by
20
comparison to
more
what white
points.
deserves, really.
Yeah.
Right. So again, this is a bad move because it tries to only do one thing, which is to break that ladder.
Hmm.
But if suppose white didn't play here, white took the stone. Now white is really strong, and essentially what black has is a weak group in the middle of two white walls.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's
I
not
think we can
so.
look at the game sequence. The game sequence went very similar to what you're saying right now because you defended.
Yeah, essentially this is also a ladder
Hmm.
breaker. What I'm playing,
Yeah.
and you are now forced to do the
Let
exact
you
thing you're
keep
not supposed
everything.
to be
Yeah.
doing, right?
Hmm.
Hmm. I mean, I was a bit worried about this cut, but I think white can
I thought white was fine. I wasn't
probably
sure.
handle it. Hmm. Not sure if that's an overplay. A professional might call it over. I'm not super sure.
Hmm.
But anyway, I couldn't read deep enough, so I didn't bother also. I was willing to sacrifice if it came down to that. I was willing
Yeah,
to
no,
sacrifice.
it didn't work anyway. We're just setting up for a little bit
So
of
here, again, the
RG.
ladder doesn't work, right?
It doesn't work.
So this run is quite a big loss. I mean, I could have played this variation. You could have gone out, and I would have taken. And you could have
Hmm.
taken the outside, and I could have taken the corner. So at this point, the corner is dead.
Yeah.
I could have done it, but I thought, okay, fine. I didn't know which one was bigger, so I said, let me just keep it simple.
Hmm.
This you can see the corner is dead, right?
Yeah, yeah. Bent
Or
four. L plus L shape, right? Yeah.
L in the corner. Yeah.
Yeah.
So take, you're forced to defend cool Hane. And cool. I think here too, I might play this move, isn't it?
Mm.
Because when this kind of thing happens, it's just better shape. You can already Hane.
Hmm.
When you're playing an empty triangle, I wouldn't recommend it. Even if it is sente for you, in general, I would recommend avoiding playing like this.
It shouldn't matter so much in endgame, right? We're close enough to endgame that doesn't matter. At least in
Not
this part of
really,
the world.
because later on, like suppose something like this happens. I do have an Atari here, and like this move
Hmm.
can get
Hmm.
sente. Maybe
That's
this
true.
exchange is bad for you because maybe I'm separating your group, which was
Correct.
otherwise which will die if I land up. So it's just, if you can avoid it, why not? If there's an
It's
end
not
game,
giving me
not
that
end
much
game.
anyway, right?
If you can't avoid it, there are some cases where empty triangle is the correct move. It's the only move. You
Hmm.
should play it there. I'm not saying empty triangle is a bad move. I'm just saying in this case, I don't see why empty triangle is. It's a 1 point move, right? What if
Correct.
I take a key? What will you do? So suppose there was a bigger move on the board. I decide to play this move.
Hmm.
Okay, and I connect. What are you going to do here? You walk in.
Well, yeah, this would be quite bad for white, right?
Is it? Why?
Isn't it? It's maybe 10 points.
Uh,
And actually, it's more than that if you play it this way. You have to actually give away those two stones, maybe.
sure, but suppose you took again, and when again white took it, and white played some other big move. Then white got two end games in set. You got one.
Hmm.
Sure,
Hmm.
quite big. I'm not arguing its size. I'm just saying it's not the end of the world. And even if you do come here, white can just live here if white
Oh,
really
that's
wants
true.
to.
Hmm.
Like that, white can just live in the corner. White's alive, right? So okay, you came and got rid of these points. How do I show this now? Maybe this one. This square points. You got rid of that.
Hmm.
That was supposed to be white's points if white had played there. Now you've got rid of those, but white got this move, so you are forced to play here.
Correct.
So then I play here. You're forced to play here, right? You
Hmm.
also lost some points on the left hand side.
Yeah.
It's not really that big.
Hmm.
What I'm saying is that it's not a matter of life and death.
Correct.
Not a bad move. I'm not saying it's a bad move. It's a fine move. Cool.
Even
All
here,
right.
I think S18 is bigger. Okay, but this is Sente. Take it. Okay.
Again, it's not really sente, but because I'm so ahead, I didn't at this point. It doesn't. I'm not playing optimally because
Hmm.
I just need to wrap the game up, right? I don't need to fight anymore, basically, because the fights are
Correct.
over.
Hmm.
So this is a locally a fine move. Your cut is fine. Is it fine? Why is the cut? Why cut? Why not Hane?
Because Hane you can cut. This way I'm getting the Hane and a connection in Sente. Not in
This,
Sente, basically I'm getting a Hane and connection.
this one you're saying I can cut.
Hmm.
Okay, Atari.
But then
So
yeah, I still.
why do
Hmm.
you care that I can cut? I mean, it doesn't matter. Okay, fine. I can cut. Okay, cut. Cool.
Hmm.
Now,
Hmm.
now what about this move? What about this move?
Hmm.
And now you play a move like this one, forcing white to come and defend,
Hmm.
right? And now when you say play a move like this one, you're also forcing white to defend here.
Correct. So all the white territory has been reduced a lot.
It's gone, right? Essentially. And these stones on the outside, stones 3, 5, and 7, they're helping you build your territory.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's not necessarily a bad idea. However, when you cut the other side and you let white take like that, you gave yet another Ponnuki to white.
Bonoki towards the center. Correct. In the
So
game, I didn't even connect. In the game, I extended, which was again a problem.
yeah, so you're still leaving a cutting point behind. You're not connected. So when you run
Yeah.
this way, I can happily run along with you, and your territory in the
Hmm.
center is gone.
Correct.
So that strategy didn't quite work. So here I just defended my group. Here I was worried whether you would wedge or not. Something fancy like that. I don't know. Maybe nothing works. I think this move seems reasonable. Although if I were you, I'm tempted a little bit to play this move. Because if
Hmm.
white surrounds this way, Mane, cut, cut, white is forced to capture.
Hmm.
And now I think I should be able to do this. Right? Or just even Atari here. This should be fine. So black's already alive and white's territory is gone. Of course, black's
Hmm.
is also gone on the top. But in the game, you notice black didn't make very much.
Correct.
So I don't treat that area as territory. It's the center. It's very hard to form territory in the center. Whereas here you've destroyed white's territory and also captured those two, three white stones.
Hmm.
So, end game wise, this has to be superior.
Correct.
This hurts. Again, this you should at least consider going down once. So if this happens, you can cut this way, squeeze, and then play this move. Yet again, this was
Hmm.
an
Hmm.
opportunity
Hmm.
to squeeze like that. But giving me yet another Ponnuki. Now there is no
No,
Ajila. It's like
see, now the Ponoki doesn't matter, right? It's facing your territory. I mean,
it doesn't matter. It's not so much that it's a Ponnuki. It doesn't really matter whether it's a Ponnuki. So even if, like, instead of this move, say I had
just
this move, which is not a
hmm.
Ponnuki,
Hmm.
it's just that it solidifies
It
my territory.
solidifies your territory, right?
And it's not like black's territory is solidified, right? You
Hmm.
have to play this, but you have no territory. I mean, what if I play here,
No, honestly, I don't have any territory. Yeah. Plus,
right?
you're
It's
alive on
not,
the right, right? R14 can easily reduce, which it doesn't
yeah,
again.
and you got to defend this area,
Hmm.
and then when I play moves like this, then it's half cente because the push and cut can be very annoying, and this
Hmm.
black rook
Hmm.
is not fully alive, so black may have to defend this side. It's really over concentrating black.
Yeah.
A little difficult there. So that's exactly what I did, slightly different order.
Hmm.
Okay, push and cut, very good. But not sure if it has to defend or not. I think probably has to. Mm. Once again, like this move is significantly bigger than any move that I can imagine
Yes.
in this area. It's huge.
Yes. Hmm.
So, like in the end game, they say that the center becomes less important and the second line moves become very important. So this move,
Okay.
just shape-wise, it's huge. Also,
Hmm.
it threatens some shape problems later for white. So if white plays elsewhere, say white plays, of course, white has to connect. But say white plays, I don't know, say elsewhere, wherever, something not important, then this kind of a move can be quite a bit of a problem for. And
Hmm. Hmm.
actually, the way black should probably play it is this. Now, if
Right.
this happens, then there is this cut,
Correct.
and this is at least a core, right?
Hmm.
Because even if white plays here, it's a core, right? Black
Oh
can never
wow. Yeah.
carry from the other side,
Correct.
and if even if doesn't happen, then this Atari, and then this wedge, this squeeze, Atari, and Atari.
Hmm.
So the whole thing will die pretty much. So you can suddenly see the power of S18 now. It feels like such a
Hmm.
slow move, but it is the absolute. It is a brilliant move in this case. You have to play.
Right. Right.
Okay, cool. So white gets that. Then once white gets that, there's no hope left now. That Hane is a good move. Hane Connect is big, definitely. White's playing obviously a slow move, but it allows white to comfortably surround this.
Correct.
But
This was
this,
just a hail mary. It didn't really work.
yeah, doesn't work. Yeah, here I would just play something else here.
Hmm.
Okay, so I think we are
I
nearing
think
the end.
E15 is also big, right? I just didn't play E15. Not that big, but end game
E15.
wise big.
So let us say instead of this push, you play
Yeah.
E15.
Yeah. No, it doesn't
E15,
really do much. Yeah.
E15 is nothing. E15 is
Yeah.
not big. Instead, what you should do is this Hane Connect. It is very,
Hmm.
very good because it
Yes.
is essentially Sente.
Hmm.
It's like, I think, 6 points end game.
Hmm.
Yeah, 6 points end game. I think in Sente. So it's like 12 points worth, I think. It's quite big.
Hmm.
You can certainly already see the impact of it.
Correct.
You can now come if you want to really, really
But
come.
yeah, it's like 1.2 points. It's not that much. Correct.
Yeah, and because it doesn't first of all connect this black group,
Hmm.
does it? No, there is nothing here.
No, no,
I
no,
don't see
nothing.
anything. So
Hmm.
okay, so there is no way to connect to that group. So therefore, it's not B.
Correct.
Okay. So, yeah. Uh, yeah. I was in half a mood to fight here. Actually, I'm not clear what happens in this case. I didn't read this properly. What this? But this wouldn't work because one eye beats
No,
no eye. Okay.
no, not even that. I can just play A17 and then A14 instead of playing D12.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Sure.
Hmm.
So that fight goes nowhere. Okay, so white has to connect, black has to connect. Cool. Yep, yep. Uh, in these kinds of situations, once again, the connect is a better move. It feels like you can get 1 point,
But it's Kote. Hmm.
but it's a 1 point gote. Instead, right now, you connect here. It's it's still gote, but you know if white doesn't, then you can push possibly. You can maybe cut
Correct.
here as well.
Basically, if white doesn't play anything, then black has center moves. Otherwise, black doesn't have center moves. That's true. The sequence is better this way.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And yeah, the push also means that if there were a bigger move on the board, then white could even possibly give up those ones. I don't know. In this case, not. In this case, it would be silly
Hmm.
to do so. But you're forced to connect.
Hmm.
Fine. Anyway, I lost Sente again. So cool, cool. I think now it's just small moves. This we should have taken.
I
I
should
don't
have
know.
taken that. That's more
I
important.
should first play this. That's the bigger move. That's the
Hmm.
biggest move on the board. It's a 6 point move.
Right.
It's a small, small, small. Okay, big. Fine. That, fine. 2 points. I think from here it's just nothing interesting. I mean,
Hmm.
I feel like all I've been telling you is that I'm not good at this, I'm not good at that. So I'm not good at Koseki, I'm not good
No, no,
at
I think you're
Life,
great at direction of play, dude.
and not good at end game or life and death. So that's it, I think, for this game. Mostly it
Hmm.
was focusing in any sort of crucial thoughts I gave were thoughts about attacking weak groups.
Hmm.
My recommendation was that you start attacking weak groups,
Play
not
less
small weak
passively.
groups, but big weak groups, like groups that
Hmm.
your opponent cannot afford to lose.
Correct.
In those cases, when you attack them, your opponent will be forced to try to defend. And
Hmm.
by way of defending, you can silently and sneakily make a lot of points elsewhere. And they can do nothing about it because
Hmm.
it is too big to lose. And the
Hmm.
more they defend it, it's getting bigger and bigger. So it's getting worse. They can't lose it now.
Hmm.
If such a group dies, we call it a dragon. So they can't
Hmm.
afford to lose their dragon. They have to keep defending, and so take initiative in the game by attacking big weak groups as soon as you spot it. Don't
Okay.
don't follow those standard rules, corner side, center, whatnot. Screw those
Hmm.
rules. Just start the attack. Even if
Okay.
it's like I don't know the sixth move in the game, start the attack.
Okay.
So that's the main thing I wanted to share here in this game today.
Hmm.
I can't think of anything very high level other than that.
No, that's very helpful. That's something that I figured out in this game and maybe even in previous games. But what I end up doing is I end up making sure that I have a big framework and my opponent has a big framework. And then I have to go and jump in and reduce, and he jumps in and reduces. And that get I mean, if I just start attacking a little earlier, then all of that will be resolved.
Right.
I think that's a better way of going at it.
Right. Cool.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks a lot, Gokul. This was
All right.
very, very helpful.
Lovely. Cheers, Shashwat. I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks. Bye.